Welcome to Context. I'm Bakhtiyar Hasanov. Now we examine a dramatic escalation between nuclear-armed neighbors, India and Pakistan, a clash that goes far beyond borders. Pakistani Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar told Parliament on Wednesday evening that Chinese J-10Cs were used to shoot down Indian jets in what has been described as one of the longest dogfights in history. For the first time, Chinese and Western advanced weapon systems are being tested directly against each other under real combat conditions. The entire world is watching. Washington, Brussels and Beijing are assessing how their defense technologies stack up. What does this mean for arms industries, regional balances and global power? To discuss this, we are joined by Amir Masood, retired Air Marshal, joining us from Islamabad, Pakistan. Mr. Masood, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Masood, what does this combat episode signify for the balance of power in South Asia?
You know, this, as you have described very rightly, that this has been one of the most modern dogfights which we witnessed between 6th and 7th of this month, night of 6th and 7th. And I think this was one of the largest force employment in air after, I would say, the American employment in the Gulf War II. And the number of aircraft, I would say, much more than what we had during the Gulf War, and would be seen academically in the years and the days to come that what has been the output of this particular war. But, you know, I had been to Baku just after the Armenia and Azerbaijan war, and I was really impressed that how the Azerbaijanis used their air power. So the Pakistan Air Force and Indian Air Force both were able to pitch their aircraft, but the Indian Air Force was on the offensive this time with a use of 75 to 80 jets, along with few force multipliers and aircraft which were in electronic warfare role as well, against 30 aircraft of Pakistan Air Force. So I would say it was one of the largest force employment, and modern technology was also used and was a sort of match or the competition of Western and Chinese technology both were witnessed.
Is this the beginning of a deeper China-Pakistan military alignment that could reshape regional alliances?
So there's a dynamism which exists as far as the relationship is concerned here, where the United States is trying to balance China with the help of India. And we can see a lot of Western technology being given to Indian Air Force, including their helicopters and transport aircraft. And then we saw a large number of UAV employment the next day, which were mainly Israel-made Herons and Harpies, which were also used during the Armenia and Azerbaijan war by the Azerbaijanis also very effectively. However, what I would like to what we were able to witness on the first day and the first hour of this warfare was employment of Rafales, which are considered to be one of the finest jets in the modern war, aerial platforms, against the Chinese J-10C. And the battle was basically beyond visual range. And we are talking about ranges as high as between 150 to 300 kilometers. So the Indians were able to employ their weapons while staying within their borders, and they were able to target few of the Pakistani targets, and few innocent civilians also lost their lives during this targeting, in which they employed almost 75 to 80 jets. And once we were defending our borders, we came to know that they are employing their weapons while staying within their border about 50 to 60 kilometers or even more than that within their own borders. They were shooting our targets across our border. So for that, once we came to know about through different intelligence report and our command and control centers, then our combat air patrol aircraft were there to defend our frontiers, and they targeted their jets. And in that fight, which I won't call a very close combat, it was a beyond visual range fight And again, I'm saying the ranges were as high as 200 kilometers plus. We were able to shoot their three Rafale jets, which are considered to be the most modern jets equipped with meteors and few of the best electronic countermeasures in the shape of Spectra suite, which they had. So the Chinese J-10Cs with their PBRs, PL-15s, were able to target and shoot effectively three of their Rafales, one Su-30 and one MiG aircraft. And that, I would say, is a clear victory as far as Pakistan Air Force is concerned against the Indian aggression.
Mr. Masood, what do you think? How might this conflict influence India's defense procurement strategy going forward?
So you could see on that very day that the DASO, who are basically the OEM and which are the manufacturers of Rafale, their share almost crashed. It fell down more than 18 to 20 points. And that of the Chengdu aircraft industry, which is Chinese, their share went up more than 25 points. So this clearly shows that the Western or the independent analysts who were witnessing and watching this all scenario and the aerial fight, they could really say it very clearly that the kills which were claimed by the Pakistan Air Force were authentic, and the Indians were able to lose their Rafale jets, which are considered to be one of the finest in the world against Chinese J-10C. And the change in the share value is a clear depiction of the authentication of the claims of shooting down these jets by the Pakistan Air Force.
Do you think that the United States lost strategic leverage in South Asia by stepping back from Pakistan?
Well, United States, I guess, will have to balance its as far as defense equipment is concerned, and that balance is essentially required because both the neighbors are nuclear neighbors, and no power on earth would like that country A is weaker than the country B to an extent where the country B is able to destabilize or create a conventional disparity to an extent where the country A decides to go nuclear. So this balance of weapons in the conventional domain has to be maintained so that a level of deterrence is there with both the countries, and especially the neighbor which is a smaller neighbor like Pakistan needs to have a deterrence in conventional domain as well. And with that balance has existed for last so many decades. This is the first time that we are seeing such a blatant aggression by the Indians, and that too all across the Pakistan boundaries with no respite in last 2-3 days. First they came with the regular air force and regular jets once their Rafales were shot. After that, since then they have been coming with the swarming drones and the kamikaze drones, which they have been using in the shape of Harpy and Herons in hundreds, I would say. And that is all across the cities of Pakistan, where the civilian population is also there. So the United States will definitely have to, step in to de-escalate this thing. But before that, I would like to say that since last 3 days, the aggression has been from the Indian side, and Pakistan had mainly maintained a defensive strategy. But after suffering so many casualties, and after seeing the mindset of the Indian leadership, both military and civil, we very strongly feel, and our public sentiments are really very disturbed, and they want their leadership, they want their military to react very ferociously against the Indian attack and the Indian violation of the international boundaries. So the public sentiments are really very much charged, and for the time being, they really want that some offensive should be taking place from the Pakistan side also, to give a message to the Indians that they have to respect their neighbors, and they should not only respect the sentiments, etc., but they should not violate in any case where they are targeting the innocent civilians for no rhyme or reason. I mean, a stage managed incident happens in Jammu and Kashmir by the locals or by themselves, and they are immediately pointing fingers and they are starting to take military action against Pakistan. So the international powers, the international stakeholders, and more so United States of America has to step in and tell it very clearly to the Indian that this is not the right way of working with a neighbor which is equally powerful as far as the nuclear weapons are concerned, and they do have a strong military to react as and when they think necessary. And I guess this is going to happen sooner than later.
Mr. Massoud, are Western and NATO planners concerned about the combat viability of their systems after this incident?
The Europeans and the big powers, both the United States, China, Russia, they have shown their concern about the escalation, and they do want both the countries to de-escalate. But the fact of the matter is that at this very stage, where the aggression has been carried out by India, and they are constantly on that road to aggression, not only that Pakistani feel aggrieved, they feel that they have been disrespected. They have lost few innocent lives for no rhyme and reason, I would say again. And we don't want escalation. In 2019, once we had the opportunity to escalate and hit their targets also, once we were able to shoot 2 of their jets, we restrained. We thought that being nuclear neighbors, we need to have some sanity which should prevail, and a respect should be mutually, carried out. And we thought that the sanity will prevail in future as well. But I think this appeasement hasn't worked with the mindset and the hegemonic designs which the Indian leadership do have, and they don't really want that level of peace to prevail in this particular region. And they have come back again this year with more aggression, with more force, and with more use of weapons all across Pakistan, which has been very disturbing. And I personally feel that Pakistan at this very time has the right to react and react with force. They have, in the very start, after that incidents which happened in Jammu and Kashmir, which Pakistani authorities very clearly said that they don't feel that this incident should be where anybody should lose their life. And Pakistan was not at all involved in that particular incident, which was stage managed by the Indian themselves in Jammu and Kashmir, which is a contested part till today. So after doing that, they came up with very aggressive designs, and then they started to block our waters as well. Though they are not the upper riparians, they are the middle riparians, and the Chinese are the upper riparian. But they started to block the water and create some sort of water and food insecurity. I mean, this is not at all acceptable that you initially weaponized the sports, cricket, and now you have started to weaponize the water, and tomorrow you are going to go further ahead. So I guess no Pakistani would like to die because of thirst. They would better die fighting against the Indian aggression. And that is what the spirit is. So I personally feel that this escalation will de-escalate, but at times you, as you know, being on the defensive set, will at a point in time will go for some sort of, and Pakistan, I guess, reserve the right to go for escalation to de-escalate, and they will use some offensive before we sit down on the table and we ask each other that, okay, now the things should settle down. This is from my point of view.
Do China or the United States have red lines if crossed would prompt direct involvement in this conflict?
No, I guess, red lines will have to be drawn by both the nuclear neighbors, because that is where we, being independent countries, we have to define our own red lines. And no country, I'm sure, on earth would like the nuclear weapon to be used as a last resort, because that's more of a weapon of deterrence than to be used in war fighting. So I personally think that both of us, Pakistan and India, have to show some sort of respect for each other, have to have acceptability and coexistence. And that is the only way forward, because no country on earth can progress or go towards a road of stability without its neighbor being more stable. No country on earth can progress and show prosperity and rise and shine until unless in the backyard there is some sort of stability. So if the Pakistan is falling and India wants to destabilize Pakistan, India cannot rise. Pakistan itself is having a population of 250 to 260 million strong people with nuclear weapons and a very strong military. So, India has to resort to tactics where it's a win-win situation for both the neighbors. So we have to define our own red lines, and that has to be very clearly mentioned. And I think the red lines are the borders, and any violation of the territorial integrity is crossing the red line. And similarly, stopping water or creating some sort of water or food insecurity again is a red line for us. Similarly, creating an instability to an extent where there's an anarchy, as we have seen that the Indians are abetting the terrorists from our western border side, from Balochistan side, from Afghanistan side. They are feeding the TTP and BLA terrorist organizations against us. So anytime if you cross these three red lines, that is, you violate our territorial integrity or try to capture any of the space. Secondly, if you create water or food insecurity where people start to die, or else you create an anarchy and instability to an extent internally within a country, then we have the right to use the ultimate weapon, and that's crossing our red line, actually.
Mr. Masood, thank you very much for your valuable insights. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our audience for joining us. Don't forget to follow Context for more in-depth analysis on the world's most pressing geopolitical issues.